Every week. It's a no.
Oh my God. Amazing.
Yeah. Sorry, Mum.
Hello and welcome back to the Wheel Talk podcast. My name is Abby Mickey and I'm here with friends to talk about women's professional road cycling. We have so much to talk about today. Milan San Remo was this weekend. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the races to come, Bruges de Pana and Ghent-Wevelgem, both under new names. So a lot to pack into the episode today. But of course, we will start with Milan San Remo. I am joined by Georgie Howe.
What's up, guys? I've moved. I'm not in my bed this week. I'm still under a blanket, but I'm not in my bed. I'm on the couch. I dressed to impress again. I've even got my dog draped over me, chewing an antler. So I'm comfy and ready to get into it.
When I talked with Pfeiffer, we were talking about you, Georgie, and how we both miss you. And I was like, well, she's never coming back. She's got a dog now. And Pfeiffer was like, it's over.
Pfeiffer and I would always joke, like, if we got married, I'd be Georgie.
That would be awesome.
Yeah,
that'd be like Taylor Lautner marrying someone named Taylor, and so now it's Taylor Lautner and Taylor Lautner, which is a real thing.
Yeah, 100%. But unfortunately, she doesn't swing that way. So sorry, Pfeiffer. Yeah. Maybe one day.
That would have been the only reason you needed, though.
The name.
Yeah.
And Gracie Elvin.
Hello, jumped in there. Good to be here as always.
And Loren Rowney.
G'day everyone. Bit of a different background. If you're watching on YouTube, I thought the black coffin was a bit grim.
You're out of the void.
Yeah.
I see you got some green here in the background there, Loren. I mean, it's like, remember how like all those experts in COVID would like sit in front of bookshelves when they're doing like tele interviews and like they would like put like their books would be like a thing of their like personalities. And like, I forget who it was, but I think it was some US correspondent, like right leaning, and their bookshelf was just empty. And I was like, fuck, that is just symbolic.
The nail on the head. I really like that Loren has Love Every toys behind her.
Yeah.
Because
it's really a combination of
if you know, you know.
Everything.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, you do not. But we do.
Hey, I'm a mum now too. Come on.
Maybe there's a dog version.
Yeah, I don't know if Love Every makes like developmentally appropriate toys for dogs.
Yeah, I mean, like she's got her dog version of a pacifier. It's an antler. She's chewing the marrow.
We are moving house in a couple weeks, and I was thinking that I'm gonna have like an actual office. So I was like, man, what should I do with the wall behind me? What am I gonna put on the wall behind me? Books, obviously, but like, do I want to display like my Massverse books, or do I want to look like, I don't know, a little bit higher class, Lord of the Rings? No. But then I'm like,
no, I mean, like, don't give me that look.
No, just be you. I think that's what she was trying to say.
I'm just going to have all the Sarah J. Maas books lined up right behind me, and then Lord of the Rings, and then I'm going to be like, this is my personality.
Yeah, exactly. I was just like saying, it was just a very staunch, you do you, boo.
I will. Good. All right, let's talk about Milan San Remo, because Kopecky did Kopecky. It was such a good race. Started with an early break featuring none other than Heidi Franz, friend of the podcast. That break was brought back at the base of the Cipressa, which had a really top-tier lead-out from a lot of the teams, Phoenix Premier Tech being one of the main teams with a great lead-out into there. We had Little Trek on the front. We had AG Insurance. It was kind of like all of the teams that really had someone in the game. On the Cipressa, we had the inevitable Kashani-Wadoma attack, which brought out a group of favorites. We had attack by Lika Nguyen going into the descent, and then a rapid descent, which led to a huge crash on the Cipressa, including Kashani-Wadoma, Kim LaCourte Pinar, a lot of top riders, and we'll talk about that. Plus, I got one of the riders involved in the crash on the phone to talk about it. And then coming into the base of the Poggio, Nguyen was still off the front, but it was a very slim gap. The base of the Poggio was a pretty steady pace with one attack from Nikola Noskova of Cofidis. Kind of a doomed attack, but cool to see her off the front. And it wasn't until the final kilometer where we really saw some attacks flying. Puck Petersen started it off. She was followed by Noemi Ruig. Kopecky followed that one. Then we had 2 UAE Team ADQ riders. Dominika Voldarczyk attacked over the top, but it all came back together on the descent, and the 5 of them rode to the finish. It was Dominika leading into the finish, and Kopecky was able to come around her to take the win with Noemi Ruig second and Gasparini of UAE Team ADQ third. Rundown.
Great rundown.
Where do we start? Where do we start? I think because we have been so hard on SD Worx-Protime the last couple episodes, I think we have to start with them. Because going into the race, they had the #1 favorite. Like, I would say 2 steps above everyone else on the start list. Lorena Wiebes was the #1 favorite going into the race. But apparently, the team went into the race all for Kopecky, and Wiebes was the plan B just in case it came down to a sprint, which was really surprising to hear after the fact, because we had, before the race even started, Mariana Voss pulled out, Elisa Longoborghini pulled out, which meant that that's a change in the start list that completely changes the dynamic of the race, because you have 2 teams that are going to race completely differently from how they would have raced had those 2 been in the race, which lent even more to Wiebes being the rider to win, plus a headwind going over the Poggio, which would have made it harder for the climbers. But even all those factors didn't mean that it came down to a sprint, which is why we love bike racing. You can't predict these things, even if you think, okay, there's no way that anyone's going to beat Wiebes. Look what happened. But that wasn't their plan. Their plan was for Kopecky, which is surprising because we haven't really seen what Kopecky is capable of this season yet. We know how last season went. It was not a good season for Kopecky. She had setback after setback, but she said coming into this year she was feeling good. She had an incredible run on the track before she even stepped onto her road bike. And then the first couple of races, they didn't go to plan, partially because of a mechanical. We didn't really it didn't seem like she had the legs at Strada. Then she was part of that group with the moto. So there was a lot of factors involved. Trofeo Fredo Binda, it was not a race to write home about, but at this race, we really saw, maybe not 2024, 2023 Kopecky, but we saw a Kopecky who has regained confidence, who is back on top, which means the SD Worx-Protime, a team that has always been on top of the classics, even last year when they didn't have the strongest team anymore with the loss of Vollering, they are now back in the game. We completely had almost written them off in the classics campaign unless it was a race for Wiebes. And now with one race, with one rider crossing the finish line first, they are fully back in the game to be one of the teams to beat for the rest of the classic season, which is incredible. But when it's Kopecky, that's just how good she is. That's what she can bring to the table.
Although I hear you on this.
Wait, but for people on YouTube, Gracie's nodding. And if I'm getting nodding from Gracie, I'm like, I know what I'm talking about. I think I know what I'm talking about.
Gracie nods. She nods along, but then she has her own thoughts. So I know that because I subconsciously look at who's nodding. I'm like, yeah, I'm hitting nail on the head right now. And then they'll follow up with, I agree, but.
Yeah.
So Georgie, please, agree, but.
I'm just going to say the but. I do kind of agree. But I think SD Worx needs to show me more than just Milan San Remo. For me to kind of be like they are the team to beat this season. I think they've had several opportunities already this season to kind of show better prowess than they have in races that have typically suited them, and they haven't. Sure, fantastic ride by Kopecky and fantastic ride by the team. I'm not taking that away at all. But yeah, I think from a team the caliber of SD Worx, I think I need more than Milan San Remo.
I don't disagree with you, but I think that the big thing here is not just how Kopecky rode and that she is it looks like she's back on form, but also how the team rode the whole race, because normally SD Worx is not a team that takes the race into their hand. Like they let the race play out, and then they have their own side quests. Like they don't, if they have Weebus in the race, they're like, we still don't need to do the work. Like we're still going to win, which has backfired on them multiple times in the last couple of years. This race, they didn't do that. They took the initiative the whole race, which is not something we see from SD Worx ever. So I feel like, yes, like we do need to see more from them, but we are going into multiple sprint classics now where Weebus will still be the favorite. And the team rode in a completely different way, and they won the race, which they really needed this win. So I feel like it's the confidence boost that Kopecky will have. It's the confidence boost that the team will have. And it's enough to get them back on track to be a better team than they have showed us all season so far.
Oh, no, I agree with that statement completely. Like they rode really well as a team, but it's one race. I just want to see how they go in others. Like it's no longer Bruges de Pana, which is sad, but the next race,
Ronde van Bruges.
The Ronde van Bruges. Like what is the classics without De Moren? Don't even get me started on that. But yeah, I mean, like sure they'll go really well on that. But yeah, I'm just going to wait and see on this one.
I think to Georgie's point, I hear everything you guys are saying, and I guess Milan San Remo is a very specific race, and I would say out of the classic races, it's one that is a bit easier to control. It was good to see them take that control. I think as soon as the live coverage came on, it was very obvious they were there and present at the front. I did hear, I happened to be on the flight with them back to Belgium, so I got to chat with the PR officer about it. And it really was, when I went back and watched it again yesterday evening in proper, you could see that for me, it really looked like Weebus was riding for Kopecky. There were definitely moments where she was in front of Kopecky and taking her to points. And then sometimes Kopecky would take the lead in certain areas to put herself where she wanted, but then Weebus would come around. So I do believe that, I know Milan was a big goal for Kopecky this year. And when she has a monument goal, she really goes for it. And you see last year with Flanders, even though most would consider her year a write-off, she still won Flanders. So yeah, with that, it was good to see that shared leadership. And I think it's clearer now, because we have mentioned before, when you have someone like Weebus, who is so versatile and is essentially a direct competitor, even though they're teammates, going for the same result on the same day, I think within the team, perhaps it's way more clear that, okay, at the start of the season, Kopecky said, Milan is for me, and maybe Roubaix is for her. And then I'm happy to play that dual leadership role. But of course, in the back of the mind, it is for Weebus unless she can't follow.
Yeah.
So for me, that will be a key to their success moving forwards, that when you have both of them on the start line, it's very clear at the start that Kopecky clearly has that little bit of an edge still on these harder hills. So when it does get really hard and we have all the key players back in the field, let's think Flanders, I still think she's going to be the one that is able to make that split ahead of Weebus, and then thus she gets that opportunity. But they always have that card to play in the back.
Yeah, I definitely also agree with pretty much everything that's been said, but my but is Kopecky and Weebus both got dropped on the Cipressa. While Kopecky climbed very well on the Poggio, there's not a lot of other climbing in this race. So those were really the two climbs that you're focusing on for the whole day. Not a lot of overall climbing. And Cassia's attack was impressive. We'll definitely get into that group of 7 on the Cipressa, because I think that's worth talking about. But I should have started on a positive. The first thing I said when Kopecky won was, wow, she is classy. And I said that because she wasn't actually the best on the road that day. She won because she was smart. She knows how to finish in a small group sprint. She looked after herself really well pretty much all day, but she wasn't the strongest rider. She's just a super classy bike rider, and that's a big reason why she won. And she was just good enough. Her form was just good enough that race craft got her to the line first. There was people making mistakes. There was that big crash. That group of 7 should have committed. Kasia should have committed more. Elisa wasn't there. Kim LaCourt wasn't there on the final climb. In my mind, Puck Peters was maybe the strongest, or at least one of the strongest. And I think Kopecky's just got that little bit of maturity and racecraft that kind of saw her making better choices. So I think that she really earned that win, but I think, I want to see what happens when we get to the harder classics for SD Worx, because I feel like we can give him quite a bit of credit for this race for a few reasons, which you've all mentioned, but I don't want to give praise to the man that brings home flowers once, So let's see.
That's a great saying. See, that's what I said, but it was just funny.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think we do need to talk about we need to backtrack, and we need to talk about the Cipressa, because the ascent and descent had probably some of the biggest impacts on the race. We had the attack from Kashinima that everybody knew was coming, and was followed by a lot of the top riders in the race, including Kim LaCourt. We had Dominika Voldarczyk in there. We had Noemi Ruig was in there. Puck was in there. Peter Say, and a lot of the riders that I think we would have thought would feature if it had been more selective on those 2 climbs. And they all stopped and looked at each other. It was that one of those defining moments of the race where they had a gap, and who knows what could have happened if they'd committed, but they didn't commit. They all looked at each other, they paused, and it allowed the race to come back together. And I was pretty surprised to see that from the group. I think I saw a lot of criticism of Kim LaCourt, Pinar specifically, because she was the most recognizable on the front looking behind. But she also had, Ali Wollaston. Wait, no, Ali's on FUJ now.
Leticia.
Yeah. She also had Leticia Borghese that they would have had as a projected rider for this race, given how she's been riding. So I think she was assessing the group, assessing who was in there, and it wasn't in her best interest to ride, but why not? Why would they have not committed to that group? Because it was such a great selection. And I think Kim could have won out of that group had it been those going to the line. So it's a really interesting, one of those really interesting moments that defines the race and completely changed the outcome.
Mm.
Do you think, this is an open question, in those moments in the race when it's happening, I mean, of course, you go into the race with the team plan and everything, but it's not like it's a kilometer by kilometer sort of thing. I'm guessing the team must have said that, in a situation where a group is going to go, then you sit on, you don't work it. But to your point, why? Because if that wasn't what the team was saying, then it comes down to rider instinct of, okay, in this moment, this is what I should do. I look back, I see there's an opportunity, we go.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, it kind of goes down to that flexibility mindset that we were talking about last couple of weeks. It's like riders should have leash, or the team directors should, unless there's a staunch DSM level, we're doing this or else kind of plan. Team directors, I think, should have a little bit of wiggle room to be like, this is an evolving situation. We came to this race with riders that we all back. If a situation was where they were up the road, why not give it a crack? But again, this is where that data-driven approach into the sport could be quite insightful. So yeah, I don't know how we can start to implement. I'm sure, I remember talking with Matt White when he was at Green Edge, about this, and we were kind of discussing how NBA do it, like live data analytics. My cousin does it for rugby in the UK with his company. Like, it's very doable. I just wonder why it hasn't kind of infiltrated the cycling world. Like, do you guys remember when the Lantern Rouge were doing those like video analysis clips, which they're very good, but at the time they were like, no one else was doing it, which is like absolutely wild because every other sport does video analysis. So I don't know why cycling seems to be just like that step. Well, I mean, I do know why, but it always seems to be like 1 or 2 steps behind the rest of the sporting world.
I mean,
Yeah, I don't know.
Go for it, Gracie.
I think, yeah, data aside, if you're going to jump into a group like that, there's really only 2 choices. You go full commit or you sit on. And it just frustrates me when you see a group of riders not doing either, and they're just looking around trying to get instruction from somebody, from their ear or from another rider in the group. And like, this is where I feel Kasia lets us down so many times, is that she doesn't follow through enough. Like, remember how she turned herself inside out at the Tour de France to take that yellow jersey, and how hard that climb was. Like, I wish you would just remember those moments and be like, just do that. If you're going to go hard, keep going.
It's so easy.
Just keep going. It's so easy. Yeah. It's incredibly hard, but she is capable of it. And it's like, it's frustrating to see her often just let herself down in some ways and expect other people to like join in on what she's trying to do, because they're obviously not, and they don't do it very often. So just like, this is not a great comparison, but like, if Annemiek looked back and no one wanted to ride with her, she'd just be like, well, okay. She'd just keep going. She would just keep going. And it's like,
that's why she won so many.
Do that more? And like, they're not really the same kind of rider, but like, I don't know. I just want that kind of vibe, I guess, from Kasia.
Well, it's like an inherent confidence, right? Like, I firmly believe that you can't be the best without, like, even the most humble athlete has a bit of swagger to them in terms of like their confidence in their own ability. So Gracie, do you think like what you're saying, it's like in those moments, like we've all been there, but like in those moments, it's a doubt that creeps in. It's like, am I making the right decision? Yeah. And
For
then all of a sudden the moment's gone.
Yeah, it's to both your points when you said that the looking around, that's always the first sign, right? There's the glance back to see we've got a gap. So if you're at the back of the group and you see you've got a gap, you scream that, let's go, move, start moving through. And you saw Kopecky do that with her group, to the point about maturity and experience and how she won that. She got them because there was that lull for a period where I thought, oh no, like this could go either way now. They could start attacking her, doing the 1-2 attack, but she managed to coax them into, people at that point are tired, exhausted. You're so close to the finish line. I think she was like, come on, we've got to work this. But yeah, it's that doubt and the waiting for something, the confirmation from a teammate or someone in your radio, where we've spoken about it a lot. And I think I always circle back to it, that there needs to be a little bit more instinct that comes into these moments. Because I'm certain if that group had gone, it would have been a very different situation that played out on the Poggio and the descent in to the race. So
to be fair,
a missed opportunity had the crash not occurred, which we can get into, but that was, she felt that pressure actually to go balls out because the climb ended up the way that they anticipated it.
No, Loren, you said a key word there though, and that was another point I wanted to make, was teammates. She doesn't really have very good team support at the moment, and historically hasn't generally. Like, there's been flashes of it here and there, and maybe a year or two we were like, oh, cool, this team's building back into something good, and then it just hasn't. I want to see Kasia on a different team. I want to see her with some other big hitters to play with, because at the moment this isn't working for her.
And if we think back to like some of the most epic Kasia wins in the last couple of years, her Flèche Wallonne win and the Tour de France win, both of those races, she had incredible team support. And that really turned it around for her. And now I said it last week or the week before, like she's isolated now. And in that group that was part of the selection, thanks to her attack on the Cipressa, she had Kim Lacourt, she had Puck Pieterse, she had, I think it's Sylvia Persico, Dominika Wlodarczyk, Femke de Vries, and Noemi Brueg. I believe that was the group. The only two that I'm unsure of are Femke and Persico, but I'm pretty sure based on the numbers that I'm looking at right now that was them. That in that group, like you have the UAE Team ADQ riders are going to work. They always do. But they were just, Sylvia was just on the back and Noemi was also just on the back. And those are the kind of the two riders that would have, I think, pulled through had there been any show of commitment. And like, I think for Puck, she's still so new to road racing that if someone like Kasia and Kim Lacourt, if those two were looking around and looking at each other, Puck's going to be like, okay, wait, like, do I commit? Because she's not had enough experience to have that, like to be the one to push it forward, to be the one in that group, to be like, okay, no, we're working this. They just needed one.
Why not?
Because I just think that she needs like a little bit more road experience to take that initiative in a group like that.
Okay.
Like I think she will. I think she will at some point have that. But she's like not only just stepping into road racing in the last like year and a half. And even then she barely does any road racing. She just only does the classics on the tour. This is her second race on the road this year, third race on the road this year. So she's still just kind of adjusting to the difference in tactics, the difference in racing style after, the cross mountain bike season, everything else that she does. It's like having too many things going on in your head at the same time, But I don't think, if I'm looking at this group right now, I still don't think they would have made it to the line because like I said, SD Worx was committed and they still had numbers in that group. But I think one of the bigger factors would have actually been Little Trek because they had a very good showing at the base of the Poggio when they had Rihanna Marcus on the front. They had Lucinda Brand. They were very committed to riding for Balsamo, which in the end was their downfall because Balsamo couldn't make it over the top with that group. And, they didn't have another card to play going in that group when it went, the group of 5 that won the race. They didn't have anyone in this selection either, which means that they would have had to pull. And I think that they did actually have the firepower with SD Worx-Protime to bring it back. And the two of those teams combined between the Cipressa and the Poggio, I think they would have been able to do it.
Yeah, it's an interesting point about Little Trek. I did notice that they were definitely really organized in this race and good support. To your point, Abby, they had a really good team. Boundfire was working super well. And I think Niamh Fisher-Black was there on the Cipressa because she did close down, I don't know if it was Cassia's first move or one of the second pronged attacks. But I don't know if she crested over the climb with them at that point. But maybe that's the one plan, not the let's try and keep one of our more climby riders in the situation where it could go. But then if Niamh Fisher-Black had been in a group that went over the top and there was a group of 7, 8, 9, she would be the one that I wouldn't put my money on to win at the end of the day, right? So Balsamo is the better chance of getting a podium should it come to the line. So I guess that's why it was just full commitment for the one plan.
Yeah. I mean, Niamh on like her top form, but I think she's had a little bit of illness this year. So this spring season. So she's not been at her peak so far.
Do you think like, because I mean, we talked about Trek last week as well. Like they're really lacking in race flexibility. Like, I like whether I don't think it's a rider thing because they have the riders in terms of like the women's pellet. Like, you know, Marcus, sure, she's still not on her like top form, but like she still has an engine on her that can break away and diesel her way through to a podium at least. Like we saw that at Tour of Britain last year. But yeah, I just think that like it's a mindset shift that they need to make, and I'm not sure if it's management or if it's the riders, but I mean, the riders are smart enough to know.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to say, and I think something needs to change if they want to win a race in the coming weeks. But is it too late? Because it's hard to reevaluate and recoup when you're already this far into the classic season. I mean, we're like halfway done now already.
I think it's the confidence piece too. They made some great signings a couple of years ago, which we were all excited about, thinking, this is going to bolster the roster. They're going to be like a super team. But yeah, to your point, with those new riders coming into the team, and I'm not saying they underperformed, but maybe their roles within the team were different to the teams they came from. There's probably like a bit of a feeling out period. There was some bad luck as well for some of the athletes. But even though those riders are super capable of getting the job done at the classics that are coming up, I do wonder if the missing piece is the confidence piece. So you can be training well and know you're performing well, but if you've been constantly put in this one sort of position or role within a race, to then show up to a really big race, let's say Dwars-Vlaanderen, Flanders, Paris-Roubaix that's coming up, to make that switch. And I think I mentioned that last week. To make that switch to, okay, now I need to be right at the very pointy end of the race can be pretty difficult. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, no, it's true. But I think we should move along in, like we talked about the attacks on the Cipressa, and then the next biggest thing that shook the race up was obviously the crash that happened on the descent of the Cipressa, and that was, I mean, horrific to see. Like, I felt sick to my stomach for an hour or more afterwards. It's something that you never want to see. First wheel down was Kasia, and I mean, we always talk about how incredible Kasia is at descending and how she is willing to risk it on a descent, and 9.7 times out of 10, you know, it works out for her, but 0.3% is this descent and this decision to really rail it on the descent and the mistakes made going into that corner. And I actually got Margaux Vigié on the phone of Visma-Lease bike, who's the rider who was second wheel going into that corner, and we saw go over the barrier and then hit the road on the bottom and bounce back up and get back on her bike. So before we talk about the crash, I just want to throw really quick to that conversation with Margaux. So I wanted to just get your take on the crash, because you were the Visma rider that went over the side and then bounced back up, which we obviously saw with Deborah that it could have been a lot worse.
No, I think even for Deborah, it was could have been really way worse, to be fair. No, about the crash, what can I say? We risk it, actually. We risk the descent. So we do recon all week long. We have Garmin with the option to see the map. So it's a bit our fault, to be fair. Like, we should have brake earlier. There is only 2 descent in San Remo. So it's also our job to learn it and to know how to drive it. So yeah, more than this, to be fair. Then maybe safer, the UCI organization, maybe they should have put some stuff there, or the organization, but maybe like a mattress, or there was some, but when there is only 2 descents so close of the finish, maybe you take care a bit more of it. So yeah, more than that, that would be quick. My take on that.
And I mean, it was pretty incredible to see you pop back up as quickly as you did going over that barrier.
it was just the bouncing, you know, like I went down and then I heard they were still crashing on the top. And so I was like, oh, I need to get out of there as soon as possible because I'm going to take a bike or something. And then actually when I'm walking up, I see another yellow, which is Sarah, and she was our leader. So I was like, okay, I'm going to help Sarah. And I didn't even hear or saw Deborah behind me because when I was up there, she crashed there. She crossed them.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, I think like a lot of people when they think about Milan San Remo, they're going to think about Kopecky's kind of comeback after last year and that crash, and which is one of the reasons like I was really happy that you were willing to talk about it because it was such a race defining crash, and I think a lot of people who who are fans of the sport really just want to hear that you're okay and that the other riders are okay.
I am. I feel pretty mashed, to be fair. Like I feel like a warm potato ready to be mashed into puree. But yeah, to be fair, that my finger is only the one that has we're having blood on it, you know. Like I have some stuff on the ribs also, but it's more just the hit. Like I feel the general hit, in the thorax, in the spine, in the hips, but yeah, I have nothing for what it could have.
What happened after the crash? We saw you helping Sarah get your bikes back in order, and then what was kind of running through your head at that time?
I was thinking if my bike could go to the finish, because I have one on the lever that was completely perpendicular to the handlebar, and actually it was still working. Everything was still working. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna stop riding. Let's see if I can catch a group or a group will catch me, which happened. And then when the car passed me, the team car passed me, I asked like, do you have time for a bike change? Because it's working, but like it could be it could be comfortable to ride to the finish to have a bike working, like a traditional bike. And they told me no, because they were still in the front, like playing for the win. So I told them, okay, I will go easy, and I see you at the.
We know how it happened. You guys just came around that corner really fast, and we know that the racing is extremely fast at the moment, and the race is brand new. So I guess those are all factors that went into how it ended up.
When I saw Kasia in clip, I was like, that's gonna be sad.
Well, yeah. I'm really glad that you're okay, and that, I mean, everyone who was part of the crash is relatively okay, and especially Deborah. So
exactly. No, I think Deborah only was just some ribs broken.
Mm-hmm.
That's the most of it. Like I don't think Kasia has anything broken neither. Mm-mm. But I believe she's gonna have a massive commotion, but that's something serious, to be fair. But compared to like broken bones or anything else, is all worth. It's good, let's say.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much, and enjoy your week. Hope your finger feels better soon.
It will be. Don't worry. Thanks.
So as she said, she says it's on them. Like everyone, including Kasia, would have reconned that descent and knew exactly, the flow of the road. And it was on them that they were pushing it a little bit too hard on the descent. And as Margaux said, she's okay. She's got her fingers all taped up, and she compared herself to a warm potato ready to be mashed. She hit the ground so
what
hard.
A metaphor. That's excellent.
She hit the ground so hard, yeah. That was a great. I was like, I don't want to laugh, but that is a really interesting way to put it. Now, after the fact, we know that Kasia miraculously walked away with no broken bones. She has a concussion, some road rash, and is very bruised. We know that one of the worst parts of the crash was Deborah Silvestri of Laboral Cuta Fundaciones Euskadi, who went over the barrier and was seen not moving, has 5 broken ribs and a fractured shoulder. So definitely it could have been worse for Deborah, and really happy to hear that she's okay. I still am not sure how Millie Cousins is doing because she hit the barrier pretty hard as well, the Picnic PostNL rider. But yeah, I mean, it was one of those crashes that is like when you Google the race, it's the first thing that comes up. It was a defining moment of the race and just horrible to see.
The only thing I want to talk about with regards to the crash, because I think there's been a lot of discourse on social media, of course, with the keyboard warriors, is Kim LaCourte, and how her immediate reaction was to go straight to Cassia and see that she was okay. And then she stepped into the road to try and slow down the other riders, because after the fact, there were still riders coming around the corner, didn't see the crash and went into the crash. So I think that is just a notable mention, that sportsmanship right there. She didn't think about just jumping back on the bike and trying to catch back up to the group to pursue her own results. It was first, the human being that was lying there on the floor. And we saw the same with Lizzie Deignan last year when Mara Roldan had that awful crash in Tour of Britain. And those moments just mean everything about sport for me. So I think that's just a nice thing to point out in a really horrible situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Shout out, Loren, for that behavior of Kim LaCourte. But sitting next to a doctor watching that unfold was interesting, because Kimberly had her head in her hands practically going, there's no one going to that rider on the ground below. Like, she was really upset by that. Like,
do you think
we
they
all
didn't
were, but
see
from
her?
a medical point of view, she's like, no one's pointing down there. Like, and she's like, someone needs to go to her, like, right now, like, immediately. Someone needs to go stabilize her neck. That would be the very first thing you need to do. And it's just like, she's right. And, working in contact sports that are on field, she's able to go and react to things immediately and in the right process and order. But cycling is a really difficult sport to manage medically. It's certainly improved a lot over the years, but it will probably always be an imperfect system. And it just got me thinking, watching what Kim LaCourte did in that moment. Her immediate reaction was for care. I don't know what her first aid training is, but it was like, there can only be so many ambulances, only so many medic motos and doctor cars in the race, especially, like, it was all together 20 kilometers before that, and then it's all apart. And where are those vehicles? Like, what decisions do they have to make? How many of them are there out there? Like, is it something to consider that as a world tour or a professional rider, as part of your licensing, you have to have done a first aid certificate? Like, is that another layer of care that we can have out on the roads when the medical people can't get there immediately, especially when it's a time-sensitive event, when someone needs their spine stabilized or pressure put on something? Like, it's a really scary thing to, like, we all felt sick when we watched that, and it could have been just so much worse.
I actually really love that idea. And it wouldn't be that hard to do, because they could so easily just have one day at December team camp where the whole team gets certified for, like, emergency response. Like, I've done it. You just do like an 8-hour course. And this could be so easily be like a safer thing that we would be applauding.
No. Hold on, Abby. But I think we're going to have to get like a 67-minute, 30-second audio message from Adam Hansen before that has to happen.
Eventually Maria Benito, who is on AG Insurance Sudal, stopped for Kim LaCourte, and the footage showed her pointing down over the barrier that there was somebody down there. And it is like incredible that Kim's first response was like check on herself, and then she was like, well, my race is done, I'm going to check on Kasia, because talking to Margaux, her first response was, which isn't a bad thing. It's like just how the riders' brains are programmed. It's like, check on your bike. Can you keep racing? Look for your leader. Did they go down? Which is exactly what she did. And that's how riders are trained. It's like, check on your bike. Where is your leader? Cool. Let's keep going. That's how we are programmed to think. So I love that Kim LaCourt, who is newer to the sport, like her automatic reaction is the race is done. I don't need to stress now about how I'm going to keep going. Because at that point, the race was done for everyone who was involved in that crash. There was no way that if they could get back on their bikes, that they were going to catch up with the lead group. It was full gas. You know, we had riders we had a rider off the front. We had teams that were able to mobilize. And I mean, I'm just glad that the crash didn't have worse consequences, because it was on a blind corner. There were so many riders coming into the back of it, riding over Kasia, which was just horrendous to see. And like, yeah, I don't know. I love this idea, Gracie. I'm gonna tell this to a rider who's part of the UCI Rider Commission, who I know. He can bring it up.
Well, yeah. You are right in that, like, your first instinct as a rider is to jump back on if you know that you and your bike are okay. But I think when you have done even a basic level of first aid, you quickly learn R for response. And I think we can also train that in the instinct of a rider to be like, am I okay? Is my bike okay? I'm just going to have a quick scan around to see if anyone else is around me and then go. I don't think that's actually that much harder to program into riders, like in the long term. I think that's actually quite doable.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the onus is on everyone in the peloton when you're on the bike to be safe for those around you. That should also like to look after your well-being as well as the well-being of others. Like that was always the goal of me and everyone who I rode with, was like, we all want to get from the start line to the finish line as safely as we can. That should extend to 100% should extend to if there is an incident or a crash, then your well-being and the well-being of others must be a priority. I'm just like, I just had a question though, Abby, like, I didn't catch it, but was there, like, I've seen replays of the crash and I couldn't see any hazard indication that that corner was going to turn back in on itself so dramatically. Like, of course they would have reconned it, but was there any like spray paint?
Margaux said no. Margaux said there was no, the organization hadn't put up anything. That she saw, like, there were mattresses and barriers and stuff on other corners, like on the Poggio descent, for example. But for that particular corner, there wasn't any indication that it was going to bend like that. But I also think that it wasn't, like, looking at the overhead of the crash, Kasia just came in really, really hot. And
she couldn't take the turn at all.
Yeah.
You see, she locks up basically, so she realizes she's coming too hot. She locks up.
Yeah, just full lock. So she just straight lined it.
Yeah. I just got an update actually on Millie Cousins, and she's all good, just bruising. So that's great.
That's good. I do have a little bugbear actually when I listen to other commentators, and nothing to do with their commentary, but just often a commentator says, oh, you know, the riders have got so much information on their head units nowadays. One of them is maps. And they often say when they're flying down descents, you know, riders will be able to see the corners coming up. And I want to know what rider is looking at their head unit map on a descent, because that's not me. That's definitely not me.
That sounds so much more dangerous. That sounds like it just so much more dangerous than looking in front of you.
You cannot look down. Like you are watching the wheel in front of you. Like I can't even look down, like when we're on a flat course. Like say you're in like one of the Belgian, you know, like formerly known as Bruges de Pana. There are like so many twists and turns that like a map would be helpful if you had fucking time. Sorry, Mum. If you had time to look down at it and between, you know, accelerations to actually know which way you're turning.
The only thing that you glance down at is the distance. Like you might quickly glance and go, almost kilometer 42. It's coming. Yeah. But that's about it.
But if you're driving a car and you have like a map in front of you of the twists and turns, like I'm not looking at the map to know when a bend is coming. I mean, maybe I glance at it, but I'm looking at the road in front of me, like, and that's even slower than you go on a bike.
Yeah.
That seems so dumb to me.
I don't know where that notion came from, but it's funny you mentioned that because on the HBO commentary, that's something one of the commentators does refer to a lot. And I've often thought, you're not looking down at your garment. Like, no one wants to look down. Like,
was I a shit rider? Because I never did that.
like, no. The only thing that
are they better at it now?
Was distance. Distance was the only metric.
When to eat and when to attack. Yeah. And when to not get dropped.
Exactly. So.
All right. I mean, I think we can move on from the crash because there's a lot that we could talk about with the crash and the ripples that have happened since the crash. But I think we still have a lot we want to talk about, and I want to talk specifically about the two biggest moments of the race that happened after the crash, and that is the Poggio and the actual sprint. On the Poggio, it was pretty calm on the base of the Poggio. We had the singular attack from Nicola Noskova, but it was mostly Little Trek setting the pace, and they would have wanted it to be a pretty, not easy, but a pace that was hard enough to not have any attacks, but easy enough that a Balsamo could hang on. In the end, Puck Pieterse was the first to make a move, and that attack was amazing. Like I was so happy to see her attack, and it brought out Noemi Ruig and Kopecky, who I think, to Gracie's point earlier about Kopecky being distance on the Cipressa, the pace that Little Trek set at the base of the Poggio was very much in Kopecky's favor. Like she would have been able to keep up with Balsamo on a climb. So that was great for her, which meant that when Puck did attack and it was closer to the top, she was able to follow that move when a lot of riders couldn't. We had the group of 5 going over the top with 2 UAE Team ADQ riders, which I don't think we're going to have time to talk about every single talking point from the race. So I encourage people to go read Matt Denif's brief breakdown of points coming out of Milan San Remo, because he talks about how the tactics would have changed for Visma-Lease bike and UAE Team ADQ without Elisa Longoborghini and Mariana Boss. And I think seeing the 2 UAE Team ADQ riders in that group just kind of ties into the whole conversation that we had last week about the depth of that team and how they are racing, even when they don't have Elisa. So it was great to see the 2 of them in there. That also meant that there was more firepower getting to the finish, like riders really interested in getting to the finish, but really they worked decently well together once they kind of got onto the Via Roma and they were heading towards the finish. UAE then botched the sprint, in my opinion. You had Dominika Wlodarczyk on the front riding really hard. And in my opinion, Eleonora Gasparini, who was her teammate, would have won the sprint. I think she was the fastest sprinter in that group, but she was last wheel. So Kopecky was second wheel, and then you had Noemi and Puck, and Kopecky was able to come off the back of Dominika when they got closer to the line and sprint to the finish. Gaspa was coming, or Eleonora Gasparini was coming way faster, but she was way further back. And I'm curious to get Gracie's take on this, being the sprinter of the group. What went wrong? The sprinter of the group. Okay, we've got 2 sprinters of the group.
What about me?
What went wrong in that situation? And yeah, you said already that Kopecky was the smartest in the race, even if she wasn't the strongest. But yeah, like from everyone in that group, what are your takeaways from the sprint?
You go first, Gracie.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. I think Gasparini shouldn't have been last wheel. I think if you've got 2 riders from the same team in such a small group, the only reason why you would be at the back is to do a late attack and surprise them and try and do that last push with a kilometre to go, or if the course favours that, which this course doesn't really favour that. So, yeah, poor positioning. She should have been on her teammate's wheel, or she could have let Kopecky have second wheel, but she should have been in third wheel at the very least. So I think that's just a mistake there. And I think UAE, they've bought some talent, but I think they just haven't been able to put the time into like doing some strategic planning with this talent. And you can see that playing out sometimes when they don't have Elisa there. So yeah, I think maybe a common story across some teams, but yeah, I think that they've got to work on some of their strategy. Kopecky just played it cool. She just looked like she was in a track race, stayed calm. They all hit out pretty early though. I think it was like 2:50 to go, which was, yeah, it's a long sprint, but it's a fast flat sprint. So you can get away with that. But yeah, Kopecky's just got that beautiful track power, so she could afford to go a little early when she sensed that it was about to go then. And Noemi Rug, I think she didn't put a foot wrong all day. She earned second. I think she just didn't quite have that kick at the end that Kopecky did, but boy, was she good. She put herself in all the right places. So yeah, big chapeau to her too, because we haven't talked about her enough yet.
I mean, Noemi, Puck, and Dominica were the 3 riders that were part of that 7-rider move on the Cipressa and in the finale.
It's pretty impressive. Like, Noemi was 3rd last year and 2nd this year in this race, and she also performs in the big Grand Tours as well. Like, she is really coming into her own as a phenomenal all-rounder. With a pretty nasty kick, like to come second, well, to podium 2 years in a row at the Sprinters Classic. Yeah, I'm really excited to see how she develops this season. It's just whether or not EF has the firepower around her to support her in that endeavor. I'm sure they do. Like Mags Valieros, they've got the world champion. Like, they do have firepower there. It's just whether or not it's enough, like against teams like UAE, SD Worx, if they can repeat their performances here, and then we've got Pauline and Voss at Visma-Lease bike. So, like, the season has still only just begun, and I'm just, I think I've got a few question marks about EF at the moment. Not about Naomi, but about EF.
Yeah, good point. I think it could end up being a similar situation to what we've seen with Cassia in that isolation aspect. And like, to your point, she is so versatile that in terms of results, it's like a rider they're going to rely heavily upon to get those results.
And Loren, how big's their roster?
Let's quickly check that.
Because if it's like, I can't imagine it'd be huge. Like
17.
Oh, that's pretty decent.
That's pretty big, yeah.
But remember, they've got 19-year-old, 20-year-old, 20-year-old, 21, 21, 21, 23, 23. Half of the team's pretty young.
And Kim Kadzo's out at the moment as well.
Yeah.
And Faulkner came, she won one Pan Am race. She's racing Pan Ams.
Won the time trial, not the road race. But yeah, Faulkner hasn't done a single race with the team this year.
I'm just looking at the roster there. What I think they're really lacking now is someone who is very experienced, can play the finals and play that sort of captaincy role. Because no one really stands out. I know they hired Alexis Magna to sort of be a bit of a captain, but I just don't see her being able to make it to the point in the race where that can benefit the end result.
Yeah, her expertise would be beneficial. Like, there's value add.
For sure.
Yeah, like AJ was divisive in some ways, but she was also like, you didn't argue with her on the road.
She was, I mean, I think she will end up being a pretty big loss for them, because even though she wasn't getting the results that maybe they were paying her to get, she brought a lot to the team in terms of on the road experience.
Were you going to say bring?
She's
Were you
still
gonna
there
say
at the
bring-
pointy end of the race.
What, G?
Were you going to say bringed? And then you
Bring. Yes. I was actually just looking at what Faulkner's up to, and yeah, the last time she raced with the team was that fateful Tour de France Femmes, in which she crashed every single stage, and then eventually didn't finish the 5th stage. That was the last time she lined up with the team.
Yeah, we had I just remember having a very sad chat with her for an interview. And so on a roadside curb.
It's a huge loss to the team's roster. That's a lot of horsepower right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, Kadzau, Faulkner,
Yeah.
These are big engines that they need, and AJ from a leadership perspective.
Yeah. All right. Okay. I want to wrap up our chat about Milan San Remo. I think we've covered a lot of bases, and I mean, overall, I think it was a great race, and it bodes well for the races coming up, because there are a lot of riders to be very excited about. Noemi Ruig being one of them, Puck as well, and yeah, really looking forward to the next races. Before we wrap up this episode, we have 2 World Tour races coming up this weekend. Ronde van Bruges, formerly known as Bruges Pana, is Thursday, March 26th. This is a sprinters race, but this year it's going to be a little bit different. We have a whole new course. It's all around Bruges this year with a slight kicker on the uphill. So that's going to be one to watch because it's brand new. It's a brand new course. So no idea what's going to happen. So definitely one to watch. And then
Abby, just remember to take your medicine, all right? You just can't be coughing like that.
Those daycare illnesses, I'm telling you, man. And then on Sunday, we have formerly known as Ghent Wevelgem in Flanders Fields. In Wevelgem is the new name on Sunday, which is another, it's been won by sprinters. It's been won by solo riders. Remember when Marlon Reusser won it solo that one year when she was on SD Worx? We've seen it won in many, many different ways. We've seen it split in the crosswinds and come back together. We've seen some incredible performances from Ellen Van Dijk. I remember that one year when she did a 6 kilometer long pull that brought back a breakaway that was off the front for Balsamo, and then Balsamo won it. That was a great year. So a lot to look forward to for that one. And I will be writing a preview for Ronde van Bruges in the newsletter. So if you follow the Wheel Talk newsletter, you can find a preview there for Ronde van Bruges. And then I'll write a separate preview coming out later this week for In Flanders Fields in Wevelgem. So keep an eye out for that on escapecollective.com. And that is it for our episode today. We can wrap it up. I am happy to start the obsessions with no one will be surprised for a single second with my obsession, and that is Jessie Diggins, who raced her very last World Cup race on Sunday. I've talked about Jessie a lot and just how incredible of a role model she is, how incredible of an athlete she is, all of her work with eating disorder awareness and the Emily Project. She's just one of those once in a lifetime athletes, I feel like. And I don't think I've ever been so gutted to see an athlete retire from sport. Watching her run up to the start for her last World Cup, I was in tears. So I will miss seeing her out there giving it her all. I will miss the finish line splats. I will miss her glitter. But yeah, I feel very privileged to have lived in a time where I got to watch Jessie Diggins become the most decorated American Nordic skier of all time.
That's a really
Thank you for introducing us to her, because I didn't know
Yeah.
about Jessie Diggins until you did. So
Even if you
I
don't
think
follow
she's-
Nordic skiing, you can be a fan of Jessie Diggins.
yeah, she just seems like an incredible human.
She truly
It's
does.
a good example of how it's not just about results, it's about how you show up to it.
Yep. And she has a documentary out, actually produced by Patrick Dempsey.
Oh.
That is in the US, it's on Peacock, and just VPN, illegal VPN to be able to watch it. So I don't know where you could watch it in Australia or Europe, but it's called Threshold. And she talks a lot in it about her eating disorder coming back like in the height of the season. So, I mean, we talk about stuff like that on the podcast all the time. It's very, very relevant to cycling. So it's pretty cool to have such a high profile athlete being just so open and honest about it.
Yeah, definitely. We need more of those examples in the sport. But in Australia, I fear that VPNs have been exhausted for other reasons.
I'm just pleased that they didn't call it Dickens Anatomy.
Yeah. Yeah. Good one, Gracie. You were warming up that one. I could see it. You were just mic in two hands, ready to drop it.
Well, just let me give me a gap. I'll take it.
Oh my god! All right, what's everyone else's obsessions? Hit me with them.
My obsession happened today in my lunch break. So a lot of people in my life teachers, both public and private school, and around the corner from my work today, 35,000 teachers walked off the job for the first time in 13 years to demand a pay rise, and it was pretty cool to see the sea of red that flowed through Melbourne, all the way from the Trades Hall to Victorian Parliament House. They are the worst paid teachers in the country by, I think, 40K. And they're asking, it's pretty bad. Like most ceilings for early school teachers like $120,000. Like they can't earn more than that, which is unless they become a principal. So pretty cool to see. I was on the corner. I wore red in solidarity because everyone wears red for the Australian Education Union. And I was on the corner of Russell Street and Latrobe, and I saw this little old lady. She had she was like standing two legs astride this like cruiser bike. She would have been in her 70s, and she had this like sun hat that she had like flattened down and like clipped under a helmet, and with her red dress, and she was just like clapping with like such vigor and gusto. And I was like, I got to talk to this woman. So I went over and I introduced myself. I was like, hey, this is pretty incredible. Anyway, we got talking. It turns out she was the arts teacher at Jenny's primary school in the 80s, and Jenny is now the arts teacher at that same primary school now.
Wow.
So it was like such a small
What are the
world.
chances?
I know. And then Jenny actually came past event. Like I saw a heap of my mates, but Jenny came past and like was like, oh my God, what a small world. So that was a pretty full circle moment. But I mean, it was great to see people of all ages, animals of all ages, marching for something that's really important, because often we reward the investment banker, but we forget about the foundations of our society. And so I think this is a really important day.
Brilliantly put.
Yeah.
Yep. We need good teachers. I'm sure we've all got teachers that we will remember forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, my aunt has been a teacher. She's now nearly 60, primary school. Like she taught, so I live in the house with one of her students from primary school. Like I wasn't allowed to be in her class because I was her niece, but she taught Abby, who I now live with, in prep, when year 2000. Which is pretty funny, but it's only now that she's so burnt out that she's going down to 4 days. Like she doesn't know how she's lasted this long. Like the industry is just burning.
It's a combination of things too, isn't it? It's not just the pay, but it's just more taxing on teachers nowadays. They're having to parent as well at points, and the parents actually are a huge problem.
100%. And you get like kids with like learning disabilities who are like fantastic kids, but they just take a little bit extra. And then you've got like the fact that, you know, your job is 8:30 till 3:30, but that's just with the kids. And then you've got to plan lessons, and you've got to write reports, and you've got to do parent teacher interviews and have, you know, meetings and stuff like that. So like it doesn't really stop. Like, I mean, around report time, some of my best friends are teachers at Wesley in Melbourne. I just know not to talk to them for a couple of weeks around report time.
Yeah,
this is my dream job. My dream job is to be a history teacher. That's like If I wasn't doing this, you would find me in a classroom.
Really?
You
Wow.
would be a good teacher.
You would be, but I just wouldn't pick in this day and age with how it's going. That said, like, I mean, this can segue into my obsession. I was going to talk about an album, but actually, one of the things that holds me back from moving back to Australia is how good the social system is in Belgium. I've spoken about it before. It's such a good country for a lot of reasons. Climate aside, it's a great place to live. Particularly where I live in Bruges, it's a bit of a bubble. But my son's school is fantastic. Like, speaking about kids with learning difficulties, Harry's having some pretty big learning difficulties at the moment, and he's actually getting government-supported extra help in the classroom. So they're having someone who can specifically work with Harry come in and just work with him. He also has a speech therapist that comes to the class just to work with him. And it's like we don't pay a cent for it, essentially. So he's getting all this extra care. Not only that, but the curriculum at the school is insane. It was Grandparents' Day last week, and when the grandparents could visit the classroom, my child is 4. What they learn in a very nice environment. It's not like they're sitting at desks and everything, but like Harry knows everything about the human body, which blows my mind. He was describing what a hair follicle was to Oma, and she was just like, what grade are we in here? He's 4.
That's
so
amazing.
That's been my obsession, is just that he's in a really safe space. And it's a Frenair school, so it's a different way of teaching children. The classes are quite small, and yeah, he's really cared for. So I'm just obsessed with the school and their approach to taking care of kids. And yeah, it's good.
That's really cool.
Good vibes.
That's awesome, man. Yeah.
That's a good news story.
Yeah.
I'll keep my obsession short. I am obsessed with the musician Sophia Isella. I really like her lyrics. It's very female empowerment, which I'm sure probably not surprised about why I like it. She's very subversive. You could probably read more into that if you feel like it. But yeah, really into her at the moment.
Awesome. Thanks, Gracie. All right. Cool. Well, that was a pretty good episode today. I think we can
Wrap it up.
Thanks everyone for listening. Thanks for, well, if you're watching on YouTube, thank you for watching us. And we will be back next week to talk about both races, Tour de Bruges and in Flanders Fields in Wevelgem.